Okay, we are back in the conference committee for S208. It's still May 28th. We decided to make some minor technical changes to S208. And so, could you just briefly highlight what those were?
Sure. So this is now draft 2.1 with today's date, 3:46 p.m. and the changes are to subsection F, policy adoption. So it now says on or before March 15, 2027, every state and local enforcement agency should adopt a policy consistent with the statewide model policy developed by the Law Enforcement Advisory Board pursuant to subsection E of this section. And then if the next sentence, if a state or local law enforcement agency or a state or local law enforcement officer who's not employed by a law enforcement agency fails to adopt the policy pursuant to the section, the agency or officer shall be deemed to have adopted the statewide model policy developed by the Law Enforcement Advisory Board.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Excellent. So I'll just briefly conclude by saying, one thing I want to thank the House for is the great work that you did on refining a lot of what we sent over, especially with the exceptions. I know there was a lot of work left to be done, and so I appreciate all of that. I'm glad we were able to get here. Personally, I would have loved to see this effective on passage, but I do see where you're coming from, and I know the House is taking a more cautious approach to this. I think that landing on March 15th is a reasonable place to land. And yeah, thank you. Any thoughts?
I mentioned this on their line. I could agree to the March 15th because the legal landscape will be more settled, even though I really think I understand where it's probably developing. And if in fact I'm right, and one of the other very similar laws in the Second Circuit, if they're found or enjoined because they're unconstitutional, we would have time to repeal this before March 15th if that's what happens. But it also allows us to have our local and state law enforcement be subject to a model policy instead of the requirements under the. They'll be very similar, but they'll be subject to disciplinary procedures within the Vermont Criminal Justice Council instead of the Attorney General potentially will become civic liable. So I think that's both those things. I think make it so I can support this thing.
So, all right. Well, I will. Yeah.
I just personally myself, I need a little bit more time just to think outside about this actual rather larger change on the Attorney General's office doing the civil action. And I don't know if we've heard from them actually about how they would enforce this. I know I've heard anecdotally about it, but that is the part that's making me feel uncomfortable about it, is just how that would actually work and how they would enforce it and how it would look if it went to court. I thoroughly appreciate, voting for S208 coming out of the Senate, appreciate the language of moving into March of 2027, but now making that change to the AGs, unless we've heard from the AG themselves.
So
what makes me a little weary about it.
Yeah, understandable. I understand Representative Malone's has spoken with the AGs. I also briefly spoke with them this morning, but I think generally bringing a civil action is within the Attorney General's wheelhouse. It's not a novel function for them in this context. Well, this specific bill would be, but bringing civil actions is not, something that's going to, I don't think, catastrophic.
No, I'm not saying that in terms of their ability to do it, but just in terms of it started off as more of the traffic ticket, getting a citation, and now it's house. I don't know if the AG's office has people out on the streets giving tickets out, but
I think
I don't.
Sorry,
no, go for it.
I was going to say, I think another way of looking at it is, I think this actually makes a bit more sense than one officer writing a ticket to another officer. that would be a little awkward. However, having the Attorney General bring an action against an agency, let's say there's a sheriff's department that is just disregarding all of this. They have masked deputies all over the place for whatever reason.
Yeah.
AG sends that complaint or files that complaint against that office, and their agent would receive all that information, would receive that. So
It is just directly on the law enforcement officer to say it's accompanied with a fine. I forget from testimony before, is the law enforcement officer themselves that pay, or is it the agency?
So we definitely heard on the federal side, and I can't remember on the state and local side, indemnified, and likely they didn't indemnified. I will just also add that I took the concept, when I was talking to Sophie about, this part of it. I suggested taking language from 209. In 209, we have that word that's modeled after, and we did have testimony from the AG's office on that, and just, and being able to, data reports, and I did talk to them about having a statutory, penalty, doing that, but, so they were fine with that. They were fine that this is something that in 209, and then we talked about today. And so, not as normal at this time of year, as you know.
So I understand you want a little bit more time. I do want to at least make sure, though, that the majority of the comment committee is supportive of this language. It sounds like it's possible that one member may not be. But no pressure to make a decision now. But so by a straw poll,
Yeah.
so everybody else said yes.
Yeah.
I see 4 seconds. And sorry, that door is not. And it's just.
Okay.
So, and we can follow up later if you want. Yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, last thing, I will say, and then we're done. Again, I get your concerns about the constitutionality. It's we won't know until the Second Circuit makes a decision or the Supreme Court makes a decision. If and when that time comes and I'm still here, I'm happy to be, I won't use the word happy, but I will be one of the first to ask for a rule suspension to get language to the governor to repeal what we have in the event that it is out of the Constitution. So,
Oh, good. I'll certainly join that.